Alright, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be making a video on something that I picked up last year at Retro Game Con. I think I showed it in my pickups video there really briefly. It's for the first time ever, a non-American console that was not from Japan, because I'm pretty sure every single console that I've shown is either from America or from Japan. This is the first one that's actually from Korea. The video game console market in Korea is super interesting, and at some point I really want to make a video just going through everything. I don't have a lot of the stuff right now, so I would like to wait until I have everything and make a whole video just kind of showing off a bunch of cool stuff. But this one was a pretty major one, and it's one that I have, so I can actually show it off. And that is a little handheld console called the GP32. Specifically, this is the BLU model, which stands for backlight unit. So this one actually has a backlight on it. The original model does not, so it's kind of more like the Game Boy Advance, which, funnily enough, the actual original release of the non-backlit model was the same year as the Game Boy Advance. So these were kind of not quite competing with each other because this was more made for the Korean market. The GBA was more made for a worldwide market. Although some of these units were actually sold in parts of Europe. And I believe the GBA was sold in Korea, but it might have been under a different brand just because they had a rule with Japanese imports at that time. I don't know if the GBA was part of that. I know the older like Game Boy Color and original Game Boy were. But either way, this was another handheld console from that generation. It has not a whole lot of games for it. The ones that are there are pretty interesting, at least. They're not like anything that'll completely blow you away, but it does have something really cool about it that I'll get into in a little bit that makes this actually still kind of not the most useful thing nowadays, but gives it a little bit more use outside of just playing like the 28 games that came out for it. But anyway, let's get this opened up. Comes in a nice little box here. Now, I believe this is a Korean version, just because of the Korean text on it, but I don't know. They might have used the same box in different regions. I'm not 100% sure. All right, so let's get this opened up here. And there we have the console. And as you can tell, looks very similar to an original Game Boy Advance. Screen is a little bit bigger, and like I said, it is also backlit, which is really nice and would have been awesome on this thing. If they just gave this at least a front light, like, it would have been amazing. But they're about the same size, similar shape. Have the shoulder buttons on the top, the A and B buttons, start, select, although on this one, you can see start and select are kind of opposite sides of the screen, while on the GBA, they're just kind of to the left. And one of the coolest things about this, the D-pad here, unlike the GBA, which just has a standard D-pad, it's actually micro-switched. So it's very similar to what the Neo Geo Pocket Color has. That's another just really neat handheld from around this era. But yeah, as you can see, very reminiscent of the GBA, which I'm not sure if that was intentional or if that was a coincidence, because like I said, they came out the same year, although this was about, I think, 6 months later. So I'm not entirely sure, but as you can see back here, has slot for 2 AA's, just like the Game Boy. Now, before I get into turning the console on, take a look at some of the other things here in the box. This is not original. This is something that the seller included. This is a smart media card. These are actually the cartridges that games came on, although this one's an aftermarket one, so we'll look a little bit into that in a second. Got some other little piece of plastic, a little screen protector that was not put on there. And then inside, we have an install CD for the USB driver and everything like that. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm missing the cable, which kind of sucks, but it does have a USB cable to connect it to a PC. Something kind of neat, this actually did let you download games online or like purchase them through an online store, and then they'd be installed directly to your GP32. So that's neat. And here is the little user guide. Assuming it's going to be mostly in Korean, although it might be in English too. Oh yeah, it's got some in English. But anyway, what you guys are really here for is the actual console itself. So let's get a couple AA's put in there. Hopefully these have a little bit of charge to them. All right, so here we are. and the console on. And you can see right here we have Play and PC Link. PC Link would obviously be connecting it through a USB cable up here, which, like I said, I don't have, unfortunately. It looks like it's some sort of proprietary connector. I don't know how well that'll focus, but it's not anything I've ever seen before. Maybe it's something that exists. I don't know. If I go to Play, yep, just says disk is not inserted. PC Link obviously won't do anything because I don't have the USB cable. So, something that I picked up along with the console at that convention was this game right here, complete in box, which is super neat. This is called, I think, Tomas Save the World Again. Not a game I've ever heard of. Apparently, it's pretty decent. I played it for a second. It definitely isn't the best game to show this system off, and you'll see why in a second, but it's all I have. So, inside, I think the cartridge is supposed to go here. I couldn't get it back in, so I just put it up at the top. As you can see, there's a little smart media cartridge there with the game's title up on the little label. And then inside we also have a little booklet just with the instructions and how to play and everything like that. Most games, like GBA games, came in cardboard boxes and they were kind of whatever. I kind of like this. Like it's pretty thick and sturdy. Obviously there's a lot of extra space because, I mean, the cartridge is this big and the manual wasn't that thick either, but it feels relatively substantial. And I mean, it's lived this long. It's made it here to America where this console was never even released, and it's in pretty good condition, so not too bad. The games also come in these little sleeves, which I think is pretty nice. I like that. But anyway, game goes into the console with the label facing up. See the GP32 logo again. And this time when I press play, I'll actually pull it right up to the game. So I think this is kind of like a little launcher almost. So if you have multiple games on a cartridge, I don't know if that's something that was sold at retail or if that's more for third-party stuff, but you can see it gives you the option to launch right there. Now, the one thing is I don't think there's a way to adjust the backlight on this, so it's kind of just at this brightness, which is fine. It's definitely better than not having a backlight, but I'm not going to sit here and act like it's amazing. Here's the game. Let's go into the options menu really quick and see what's there. So I can choose how many continues, lives, and how much power the enemies have. I assume that's going to be difficulty for the most part. Let's keep everything how it is. Oh, I felt like an idiot. I was trying to press back. There's a little icon up there that you have to actually select to go back. Sure. But here we are. Now, this is going to be a little bit hard for me to play because I'm kind of looking through the screen on my camera. But we got a couple different characters here. Evian, BA Style, Night Moonshine, I think that says. Let's go with Night Moonshine. And here it is. So, as you can see, frame rate is a little rough. Obviously, it's playable. It works. It's fine. But you're for a shmup that is kind of in that bullet hell territory where you just have a bunch of bullets that you have to avoid. Doing it at this frame rate, not the greatest. Apparently, this game does actually have a PC port. I assume it probably performs a little bit better than this. But yeah, aside from that, still a fun game, still relatively well made. It just kind of shows a little bit of this console's weakness just in terms of performance. Although it still is more powerful than like the Game Boy Advance, as far as I know. I don't know if that's just a problem with this game being more demanding, it not being optimized well, but definitely a little rough. It also doesn't have turbo, so you have to sit here and just keep spamming this button. I don't really know how to play this game. I have never played it before, aside from just trying it out real quick and seeing what it looked like. So, looks like pressing the bumper kind of puts you into this mode where you're shooting missiles. Other bumper does the same thing. And then the B button. Not quite sure what that does. That kills the frame rate. Oh my god. Like, that's bad. But hey, I mean, it's still graphically, I know it won't show up on camera very well just because of the brightness, but graphically, it looks pretty good. And when there's not too much on screen, it plays fine. But anyway, Like I said, this did come with another cartridge, and that's where this gets pretty interesting. So, obviously, there were retail games released on these cartridges and these boxes. You could also download them online, like I said. And as far as I know, there were around 28 retail games, so not exactly a large library. It is probably one of the smallest in terms of video game console libraries, at least that I know of. But because of that PC Link functionality, there's actually the ability for people to develop their own games and homebrew and software and everything for these. So that's what's on this cartridge here. So we just load this up. Let's take a second. You can see it says GP32 Linux on it. I'm not going to act like I know a whole lot about the modding scene around this or what's out there. This is just the cartridge that came with the system, so that's kind of what I have to work with here. So, as far as things on here, I believe this game, translated it, is called Wizard Slayer. Take a look and see what that is. There's Super Plusha, Funny Soccer, Nazca Dreams, Box, JPG32, GP Engine, Zero SNES or OSNES. So you can kind of tell what that is. That's a Super Nintendo emulator. Wonder Boy 32, maybe a Wonder Swan emulator. I'm not sure. GP NES E, I'm assuming maybe an NES emulator. I haven't tried a lot of these. Obviously, that one's going to be Mega Drive or Genesis. Wind-ups, maybe Game Boy, although that one looks like Game Boy Advance, so not sure exactly what that is. But yeah, so this one's got some extra software on here aside from just one game. So let's try out this game here, see what that is. Oh, okay. Had to try it a couple times for it to actually load. I don't know what that's all about, but wait, this is Super Plusha? I thought the other one was. I don't know. Maybe I accidentally pressed to the right. Start game. Oh, we got a little platformer. That's cool. Frame rate's a little bit better in this one. It's obviously not amazing, but it works. It's like you've got these little... You don't really tell what those are that you're throwing. Playing this through the viewfinder is obviously not the easiest thing ever. Yeah, just a little like mascot platformer type thing. I don't know if this was homebrew or if this was a game that they released on an actual cartridge and this is like a pirated copy. I have no clue. But at the very least, it's something else for it, which is neat. Like I said, we've got some other software to try out on here. Let's get it restarted, and let's check out what else is on this cartridge. So yeah, that was definitely Super Plusha. For whatever reason, this one I just cannot get to load, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Funny Soccer. It is interesting that they call this soccer, because I'm pretty sure most of the world, aside from America, calls it football. So, I don't know. The other game being in English, and then... obviously, this is interesting. It's kind of like almost like a foosball type thing, like an air hockey. I don't really know. Oh, yeah, I can move on. I guess it feels more like air hockey. Sure. I'm not gonna act like I know what I'm doing. But yeah, there's another game. I'm assuming most of these are probably like homebrew type games. They're probably not official. Maybe that first one might have been. It seemed decent, about the same quality as that shoot 'em up. See what Nazca Dreams is, if it'll load. I don't know what's up with this like kind of weird spot on the top of the screen. I guess that's just there. Yeah, it's just a little platformer, I guess. I don't know what's up with that line at the top of the screen. I don't know if that's, I assume that's not a console problem, because it wasn't there on any of the other ones. It might just be like an issue with this specific ROM. But yeah, just another little platformer. This one up here is Box. That character next to it looks very similar to Link to the Past Link. That is... Okay, that is just... that is color-swapped Link right there. Interesting. So yeah, definitely... Okay, yeah, and that is just the Link to the Past sprite. This is one of your kind of generic, like, little box puzzle games. I'm pretty sure everybody's played one of these at some point. Not gonna act like I'm great at it. I think I just locked myself there, but it's one of those. Very funny that it just uses a copy-pasted Link sprite with a different color palette, but, you know. Let's see what this one is. This one, my guess is an NES emulator. Oh, no. I'm way off. A Japanese to English dictionary, apparently. That's at least what it says. Huh. Yeah. That's cool. So I guess let's go, I want to say hello. There we are. Huh. Cool. So it's a dictionary. Or like a translator. That's kind of interesting. Again, this is a Korean console, so it's weird that there's a Japan to English translator on here, but I don't know. I'm not gonna question it too much. Wonder Boy 32, like I said, maybe a Wonder Swan emulator, but again, maybe not. Okay, this is definitely an emulator of some sort. Okay, yeah, I was right. This is 100% Wonder Swan, right? I didn't even know. Did Noah have a Wonder Swan game? I feel like I should know that. Huh. They did. Obviously, I'm playing it right now, so they of course did, but, you know. Interesting. So, and it's for the original Wonder Swan, so it's black and white. Get this going. It runs... Honestly, this is probably about how the game ran on the Wonder Swan, so... emulation seems fine. Obviously, this isn't like the most demanding console ever. I'm not expecting this thing to run the Super Nintendo and Genesis as well. So I guess we'll find out. I think the next one is the Super Nintendo emulator, SNES 9X. So same emulator that everyone's probably used before on PC. They got a little intro. Interesting. I see Chrono Trigger. A lot of these are cut off, so it's hard to tell. Final Fantasy of some sort, I'm assuming. Mario Kart. East. Let's go with, I would love to do Chrono Trigger. Obviously, I don't have the time for that. Although, you know what? I wonder where this guy left off. If this has actually been played and if it has a save state, I'm very curious how far into the game they got. Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite games of all time, so please have saves. Active, of course. Oh, no. It doesn't have a save. Is there a menu I can open? Load state. Error. Yep, they have nothing, unfortunately. That sucks. I would have liked to see how far they actually got in the game. That would have been really interesting. Well, let's go Mario. I'm assuming Mario World, unless it's some weird bootleg. Yeah, it's Super Mario World. Definitely has seen better days. There is a GBA emulator, so I'm very curious how the Game Boy version of this game runs on here. Let me see. Yeah, a lot of the animations are missing, so like the fade out is just not there at all. It's definitely Mario World. I don't know what the run button is. Oh, it's the left bumper. I mean, it works. If this is all you had, I mean, in 2001, aside from a Game Boy Advance, being able to play Super Nintendo games portably, to some extent, kind of neat. Something like an RPG, you could definitely play this way, like a turn-based. Chrono Trigger, because it's got that active battle system, might be a little tougher. As far as platformers, I wouldn't quite recommend it. See what GP Engine is. Maybe PC Engine? I am assuming, yeah, 1943 R-Type. Let's just do R-Type. I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, this is TurboGrafx. Plays actually, let me turn this down a little bit. Frame rate, a little bit better than the one that was made for it. So at least emulating PC Engine isn't that bad. Although PC Engine is kind of a weird in between 8 and 16-bit console, so it's probably the easiest console of that generation. I'm not very good at R-Type. So I think we've got like 3 more programs to go through. We've got whatever, can't tell if that's an L. I think it's LJPG32. Little John, okay. Oh, this is the NES emulator, okay. Yeah, so it's got Punch-Out, it's got Contra, Star Tropics, East. I don't know what S-Home is. Let's do some Punch-Out. Feeling Punch-Out right now. And it's a Mike Tyson version, obviously. It's definitely not full speed, but it definitely is playable. Yep. So it's Punch-Out. NES, I mean, that's probably about on par with the TurboGrafx emulator with playability. It has some slowdown, but it generally seems like I could sit down and play Punch-Out on that for a little bit and not feel too terrible about myself. Now, we're jumping right into probably about the same as the Super Nintendo, but again, another rough one for it. Castlevania Bloodlines, the new generation, which is the same thing. I don't know why they have 2 versions. Gunstar Heroes, Phantasy Star. They really love their Ys games. I'm going to go with Bloodlines because that is probably my second favorite Castlevania. I got to have the same opinion as everyone else. Rondo of Blood is just that good. Wait, this looks good. This is actually like... obviously, this is the menu, but this is promising so far. The other ones were slowing down, like, at the title screen. Dude, this is good. This is, like, full speed. I could actually sit down and play this. And for a portable, I mean, this was less than 10 years after the Genesis came out. Obviously, the Nomad exists. But, like, come on. Like, this is not bad at all. It probably is running in a little bit lower frame rate, but it's at the very least 30, which is for an emulator from 24 years ago. I'm not going to complain about that. You know, this is perfectly fine. And honestly, like these controls, the D-pad feels great. I love the Neo Geo Pocket for the micro switch D-pad that it has. This one's got a little bit more travel. I still think the Neo Geo is a bit better, but this is not far off. All right, I'm not gonna go through the whole level. You saw me get to the mid boss at least, but honestly, I'm very impressed. I'm curious if there's like newer emulators out there for this that run a little bit better. I'm assuming these are probably from early 2000s, maybe 2010s, but these emulators and ROMs and everything are probably at least 15 years old. We have 2 more. We have Wind-Ups, whatever that is. Oh, I guess we're on Windows XP. Yeah, so it's just like I guess Win, W-I-N, maybe. Yeah, this is just like a Windows XP skin. Gonna have to restart and try one more time. I think the last one was the GBA emulator, which is probably going to be the most interesting. Because obviously, like, something that I think is really funny looking back on it, when the PSP came out, you were able to emulate brand new GBA games, like, the day they launched. Because they were releasing GBA games quite a bit after the DS actually came out. So there was a little bit of time when the PSP was out, and people were modding it, and they were able to put GBA emulators and play brand new games on the competitor's handheld. This came out well before the PSP, and if you're able to do the same thing on here, that would just be crazy. Because obviously this came out the same year for the most part. Load ROM. Let's see what we've got. That is really small text, and there's only one game. Zelda. I'm assuming maybe Minish Cap. It could be Four Swords, honestly. Oh my god, it has like It has like an old piracy screen there, like a little splash screen. That's awesome. It is okay. It's 4 swords. Okay. Already from the start, this looks pretty rough. I don't think there's any sound. Might have, yeah. It's a little bit ahead of its time. Like I said, I wonder if there's better emulators out there now. Although I assume the second the PSP came out, just about everybody that was using this thing just completely jumped ship. Although, I mean, this still, it is kind of the same type of thing for somebody who's just looking to run emulators and everything like that. This is very similar to what we have with like the Amberneck systems, where it's just, you know, a handheld that's open source. You're able to put whatever you want on it, run Android or Linux or something like that, you know. Obviously, this one also, they attempted to release retail games for it. Like I said, there were only 28 of them. So I assume probably the majority of people bought this as an emulation device. For at least if the PSP was able to be bought in Korea, I assume most people, the second that came out, probably jumped ship right over, because once it was modded, you could run any of the emulators you want. Almost full speed GBA. Super Nintendo and Genesis run great. And then obviously it has an amazing library on its own. As you can see here, Link to the Past is not what I would call playable. I assume that's probably why they only have 1 ROM on here. They probably saw this and were like, I'm good. I'm not even gonna get in the game on this. It's gonna be bad. But yeah, that is the GP32. Like I said, really neat handheld. They did actually make a successor to this. Actually a little bit easier to find, weirdly enough. So I'll probably end up getting one of those at some point, but it's called the GP2X. And then there were a couple other machines that were kind of based on that. So there's the 2X Win, there's the Canoe. I think there was one more. Maybe that one might have been canceled. I'm not 100% sure. But GamePark went through and, you know, they continued making devices like this. Obviously, the GP2X and the devices on strayed more away from being a dedicated platform to just being an emulation device. Although I believe the 2X did actually have games made specifically for it. So that's something that hopefully, if I can get my hands on, I'll explore in a future video. At the very least, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at this pretty neat, kind of obscure handheld. Is it better than the GBA? No. On a hardware level, probably. Having a backlight is amazing. Obviously, the backlight one probably came out around the same time as the SP. But for 2001, the type of performance you can get out of this, being able to emulate Genesis games pretty much full speed. I mean, the GBA can't even do that. Look at the Sonic Genesis on there. So it's pretty impressive. There is one game that I saw that's like a Metroidvania that was released for this. I would love to have a copy. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. Apparently it was like only released physical copy in France, and there's probably no way I'm ever going to find that. So if anybody watching this video lives in France and you know, you're able to track down a copy for me, let me know. Yeah, the game's called Blue Angelo, so if anyone happens to have a copy of that they want to let go of, let me know. I'm interested. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video was informative for you guys and showed off something that most people really don't know about. This is definitely, at least over here in the West, something that flew under most people's radar just because, I mean, only released in Korea and some parts of Europe. Came out around the same time as like the GBA, PSP, all of that. And obviously those were huge over here and in the rest of the world. So this kind of stuff was definitely ahead of its time, being so open and being able to put whatever you want on it. Like I said, really, that stuff didn't really exist up until pretty recently with all those emulation handhelds. So really neat to see that a company kind of tried doing that so long ago. But yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I should have kind of a vlog uploaded next month for PAX East. because me and a couple of my friends are going to that. So be on the lookout. I haven't done a video like that before, but been kind of preparing for it, getting all the equipment that I need. So hopefully it'll be a good time. Hopefully I find some cool stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So guess I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.